raw food vegetarian diets and bone mass. So in the previous two videos, I described the effects of being on a long-term raw food vegetarian diet and cardiometabolic health and hormonal adaptations that are potentially associated with a lower or increased risk of cancer. Now, a raw food vegetarian, by definition, is a diet that is rich in plant-based food, as you can see here, very colorful, a lot of variety of different type of vegetables and fruits and sprouted beans and grains and nuts and seeds and a lot of healthy extra virgin olive oil and spices. So it can be very, very colorful and healthy. And now I'm gonna show you the data that we published in Archives of Internal Medicine in 2005. So again, as for the previous two videos, the population is the same, are raw food vegetarians. In this case, we were able to perform DEXA bone mineral density on 18 men and women, 11 men and 7 women with an average age of 54 years that have been practicing a raw food vegetarian diet for an average of 3.6 years. And the comparison group, this is a cross-sectional study, was age and sex matched individuals eating a typical American diet. Okay, so let me show you very quickly the characteristics. Again, age, 52.7 in men, 56.5 in women, BMI 21, 20 in men and women on the raw food vegetarian diet. The controls is 25.5, 25.4. Body composition by DEXA, total body fat percentage is 14 and 24% in men and women on the vegetarian diet, and 21 and 33.5 in the control. So definitely they have much less body fat, and however, the fat-free mass in kilograms is not significantly different. In percentage is even higher than in the controls because, of course, they have less fat. Then if we look at the bone mineral content in terms of grams, total grams, there is no doubt that the people that have been following these raw food vegetarian diet, they have less bone mineral content at the lumbar spine and total hip and femoral neck, even if the femoral neck is not significantly different. But when we look at bone mineral density, meaning grams of calcium for square centimeters of bone, then you see a very high, significant lower bone mineral density in the spine, L1, L4, and hip, and neck. And if we look at the T-score, they have this is panel A men, panel B women. There is no doubt that T-score in gray in the raw food vegetarians is significantly lower for the lumbar spine, highly significant, and also for the total hip. But for the femoral neck, for women and men is not significant, even if there is a strong trend for men. So these people, they are, in terms of DEXA bone mineral density and T-score, they are severely osteopenic or osteoporotic. The good news is that when, first of all, the vitamin D intake by supplements, food diary is normal. It's even higher than in controls in these raw food vegetarians. However, leptin, that is implicated in bone metabolism, is significantly lower, 2.8 versus 8.7 nanogram per milliliter. IGF-1, another important factor in bone density, is lower, 124 in the raw food vegetarians compared to 171. However, a powerful marker of inflammation, C-reactive protein, is much lower, 0.6 milligram liter versus 1.8 in the controls. And good is that two biomarkers of bone turnover are not significantly different between the raw food vegetarian and controls. The C-telopeptide of type 1 collagen, as you can see here, is a marker of bone reabsorption, and the bone-specific alkaline phosphatase is a marker of bone deposition. They are not significantly different, suggesting that yes, there is less bone mass, but we don't know the clinical implication. Are these people at increased risk of having a bone fracture? Now, just to summarize, the DEXA is telling us that, you know, this is an example of a normal bone. There is more calcium in the bone, trabeculi and of the lumbar spine. Instead of in the raw food vegetarians, there is something similar to this one. Basically, there is less bone. So there is, but the question is the architecture normal? Because are just the trabecula thinner, but without holes, without bone erosion? Because what we know is that, you know, people with high bone turnover are those that have a higher risk of bone fracture, because the high bone turnover is destroying these trabecula. They're not thinner, but they have holes, and they basically, you are damaging the entire architectural structure of the bone. And we don't know. You know, we have no idea if these raw food vegetarians, they have just thinner trabecula without holes, without bone erosion. Based on the markers of bone turnover, we can hypothesize that it's just less bone mass without a structural without the structure being compromised, but we don't know. So we need more studies to understand the consequences of a long-term raw food vegetarian diet on bone health and bone fracture risk. This is everything for today. If you like these videos, please let me know. So I'm gonna continue to do more and inform you about new data and old data that I think are very relevant to understand from a scientific and clinical point of view for maintaining and promoting health. Thank you for listening.